Alright everyone, welcome back to another video, and today what I have for everyone is my full camera review for the Google Pixel 6a. Okay? Now we're going to run through everything that I think it's important for you to know in regards to the Google Pixel 6a and its cameras. And then I'm going to tack on all of my photo samples and all of my video samples. And then at the very end of the video, I'm going to let you guys and gals know if this device is worth picking up, strictly based off of my experiences with the cameras. Now, this is going to be a long video, so it will be time-stamped for your convenience, so please feel free to check out the video description to jump around to different parts of the video that you would like to know more about specifically, or feel free to watch the whole thing and, just get an overall comprehensive learning experience. It's up to you. All right. Now, before we dive into the photo and the video samples, let's walk through the UI for the cameras and how you would launch the cameras and how you would set up to launch the cameras. Now, the way you set up to launch the cameras, other than pushing on the camera icon, which is the standard way of launching the cameras, pretty much you just have to tap the camera icon no matter where it's located on your device. So you can swipe up in your app drawer, find the camera icon and tap on it. Or if you have it folded, you can see I have mine folded. You find the camera icon and you tap on it. Or you can use the double press of the power button gesture, right? But let me show you how to configure that first before I demonstrate how that works. So to configure the double tap of the power button gesture, you want to come into your settings, you want to scroll down to system, and then you want to tap on gestures. And then inside of here, we got a variety of different gestures that you can do with your Google Pixel 6a. And we want to find quickly open the camera. And you just want to make sure that this option is toggled on. So quickly open the camera by double pressing the power button from any screen on your device. And I gotta say kudos to Google for giving us a nice demonstration and a nice description of what it does. I like that. I like that a lot. Takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. But before you can activate the quick double press of the power button to launch the camera gesture, you do have to make sure this option is toggled on inside of the system settings underneath gestures on your Google Pixel 6a. Alright? Then after that, all you have to do is double press the power button from any screen on your device. As long as your device is technically in a powered on state, you double press the power button and it will launch you into the cameras on your device. So I'm going to put up B-roll of that now. And you can see it's very, very simple. You can see I demonstrated it with the display on from any screen, and I demonstrated it with the display off. A real quick double press of the power button, and it launches you into the main camera interface on your Google Pixel 6a. And the really nice thing is you get nice haptic feedback when you've executed the gesture successfully. All right? And then other than that, like I've mentioned, the only other way to launch the cameras on your Pixel device is by tapping on the camera icon wherever you have it located. And then that drops you into the main camera interface landing page. Now, we're going to go through this page from top to bottom, left to right, and we're going to cover everything that you need to know. All right? So let's get started. Now, to swipe through your modes, you just have to do that. You swipe left or right to get through the different modes on your Pixel camera inside of the camera app. You swipe left or right to get to your different modes. Okay? So you can see, starting from the left, we have night mode. And I'm very happy to report that night mode works on all the cameras. So night mode works on the rear-facing primary 12.2 megapixel camera. Night mode works on the 12 megapixel ultra-wide camera. And night mode works on the 8 megapixel front facing camera. So night mode works across all the cameras, and you could easily switch between all the cameras and use your night mode, no problems. Really, really good stuff there. Really, really good stuff indeed. So you can see I can switch to the ultra wide, still in night mode. That means night mode works. I could switch to the front facing camera. How y'all doing? Still in night mode, and that means night mode works. So good stuff there. And we can also use the zoom gesture with the rear facing primary camera and still use night mode, and it's going to work. And we can come into the front facing camera and use the zoom gesture and still use night mode, and it's going to work. So night mode works across all the cameras on your Pixel device. Really good stuff. And I got to say, Google's implementation of night mode is some of the best. Okay? Then if we swipe to the right, the next mode we have is portrait mode. So Google uses their artificial learning and their algorithms to give you a nice blurred background and make it look real crispy and authentic and real. It still looks a little bit overprocessed, but it is a very nice artificial blurring of the background, and they do a great job with it. Their edge detection is on point, and there's really no issues with it, right? That's portrait mode. And again, portrait mode works with the primary camera and the front-facing camera, right? Portrait mode does not work with the ultra-wide camera, okay? So you can see in portrait mode, we can use portrait mode with the primary camera at 1x zoom, or we can use portrait mode with the primary camera at 2x zoom, or if we wanted to, we could switch to the front-facing camera and still use portrait mode, all right? Now for reference, all the selfie shots that you guys and gals see in my photo samples, that was taken with the front-facing cameras, okay? Everything else was either taken with the primary 12 megapixel rear-facing camera or the primary 12 megapixel ultra-wide camera, all right? But in regards to the selfies, I took all of the selfies, whether it be regular or portrait, with the front-facing 8 megapixel camera. I just wanted to make sure that everyone knows that. I wanted to point that out. But portrait mode is available with the front-facing camera and the rear-facing cameras, okay? Just not the ultra-wide camera. All right? So jumping back over, if we swipe over again, now we're in our primary camera mode, okay? And you can see what's nice about Android 13 is that when the mics are active and being used, we get a green dot indicator indicating that our mics are active or being used, and we can block that activity or allow that activity. And then you can see in our main camera viewfinder here, we have our guideline bars. So I have the 3:3 guideline ratio set up, okay? And then you can see we got our main composition window, and then below our composition window, we got 3 shortcuts to our ultra wide, okay? Then we got a shortcut back to our primary, okay? And we got a shortcut to our 2x zoom. Now, if you don't want to use shortcuts, you can pinch to zoom and go through the same ranges. Now, when you're in photos, you can zoom up to 7 times, right? When you're in videos, you can zoom up to 5 times, okay? I just wanted to make sure that I pointed that out. And then below those quick gestures and shortcuts, we got our shutter button, which turns into a video record button when we're recording video. And then to the left of that, we got a quick shortcut to jump to our front-facing 8 megapixel camera. How y'all doing again? Okay? And then as I showed y'all earlier, we can zoom quickly on our front-facing camera with the quick shortcuts here. So we got 1x and 4x, okay, with the front-facing camera. And then when you zoom in on the front-facing camera, you can go up to 4x in video, okay? I mean 4x in photo, my bad. I think you can do the same up to 5x in video. I don't really zoom with the front-facing camera in video. It's not my thing there, okay? At least with the front-facing camera, I'm not doing a lot of zooming in. All right? So that's the front-facing camera there. Let's go back to the rear. And then to the right of the front-facing camera, we have a quick shortcut to our gallery. All right. So that is that. We're going to come back to the sub settings in a minute here. I just want to continue taking you guys and gals through all the modes. So if we swipe right again, now we're in video mode. Okay. And what's really nice about video mode is that you're set at exactly what you can record. So with the Google Pixel 6a, you can record in up to 4K at 60 FPS, or you can do 1080p at 240 frames per second. But you can't record 720p, at least with the stock camera app. You will need a third-party camera app to unlock 720p, but the minimum you can record with the stock camera app is 1080p and upwards. All right, and you could do 1080p 30 and 60 with the primary and ultra wide cameras. You could do 4K 30 with the primary cameras and the ultra wide cameras, but you can only do 4K 60 with the primary 12 megapixel camera. All right, and you can see their video layout is very, very nice. Right, so we got shortcuts to our ultra wide as with photos, so we can go to our ultra wide, we can go to our primary, or we can go to our zoom. Then we got quick shortcuts to our slow motion. Okay, again, you can do ranging from 120 frames per second slow motion in 1080p. That's what it's set to right now. Or if you go to the next option, this is now 240 frames per second slow motion in 1080p. Okay, can't do 720p here, and then if you hit this arrow, it's going to take you back to the main video recording mode. But I like how they have the modes neat and nicely laid out here once you get into video mode. And then once you go back, it takes you back to normal mode, and then we have time-lapse mode. All right, and you could set the timer to record in different intervals with time-lapse mode. And then again, if you hit the back arrow here, it's going to take you back to your normal mode, which is really, really nice. And then next to those quick shortcuts to the different modes in video, we have our stabilization shortcut. So the Pixel 6a, along with the other Pixel generations, have really, really good stabilization. Okay, they have a variety of different stabilization. Now for my testing, I only use the standard stabilization, but they have a variety of different stabilization modes for depending on what you're trying to do. So if you're doing a regular video, you use standard stabilization. If you're doing an action shot, you would use active stabilization. If you want to do like a cinematic pan, you would use the cinematic stabilization. If you're going to do a lock stabilization for like a stationary video, then you would use the lock stabilization. It will give you a nice zoom in and make sure everything is nice and stabilized, right? And if you want a detailed breakdown as to what all the stabilizations do, you just hit the tiny question mark right here, and it will give you a detailed breakdown along with a demonstration of what all the different stabilization modes do. So again, kudos Google for having really nice descriptions and really nice demonstrations. I absolutely love this. You follow along, you read the description, you follow along with the demonstration, and all the guesswork is eliminated from it. So you can see standard stabilization, and they have it demonstrated with stabilization off, which you can turn it off, versus stabilization on. And they do this for all the different stabilization modes, and they tell you what it's used for. So again, stabilization off versus stabilization locked. So you get that nice crispy stabilization, right? And then active stabilization for your active shots. Again, stabilization off versus using active stabilization, and you see the really nice difference. And then cinematic pan, right? Panning without stabilization versus panning with the cinematic pan turned on. So you get that nice smooth movie pan. All right. And again, I love how they break this down, and I love how they give you the demonstrations. And then to get out of it, you just tap out of it or you swipe out of it and you're out of it. And then you can turn off stabilization altogether, but you have to jump into the subsettings to do that. I'm going to show y'all that in a little bit. But this goes over your video modes, right? And then if we switch to the front-facing 8 megapixel camera, this has a maximum recording resolution of 1080p at 30 FPS, and we just have normal mode and time-lapse mode. So there's no slow motion with your front-facing camera. All right? Just wanted to point that out. Okay? Jumping back to the rear, and if we swipe to the right one more time, we get our additional modes. So we got a panorama mode, okay, which is kind of like a cinematic pan mode. If you want to get a big pan of a wide area, you will use the panoramic mode. We have photosphere mode, which kind of gives you like a 3D globe effect of whatever you're trying to take a photo of. And then we have Google Lens, which is the perfect way for you to get instant search information based on what your camera is seeing. All right. It's also a really good way for you to scan text and copy it and do whatever you want to do with it, or just scan different images and do different searches with it. Google Lens is something that comes in handy. You don't know how much I use Google Lens often. Okay. But that goes over all of your modes with the rear facing camera. And then if we go back to video mode and switch to the front, you can see if I swipe over, we have the same additional modes with the front facing camera, right? So again, the only thing we can't do with the front facing camera is do the slow motion. But again, in the front facing camera, we got the video modes, but we can only record in 1080p. Okay. We have all the photo modes. Okay. We got portrait mode, and we have night sight mode. So everything you can do with your rear facing camera, you can do with your front facing camera, except for slow motion. All right. So good stuff there. Okay. So that pretty much goes over the front and the rear facing cameras in terms of the modes that you can see up front. Now, let me now go through the subsettings. Now, the subsettings are different depending on what mode you're in. So let's start with night mode, okay? So night mode is just a way to get maximum light for whatever photo you're trying to take, okay? So if we hit this little drop down arrow here, this is how we get into the subsettings for our additional modes. And you can see inside of the subsettings for our additional modes, inside of night mode, we get our astrophotography mode, all right? So astrophotography is what you would use if you want to get really nice shots of like the stars at night. And it's recommended that if you're going to do that, you use some type of tripod to do that, because it really opens up the lens to get that really nice shutter so you can get that starry effect. But then other than that, inside of our subsettings for night mode, we have a timer, we have focus, and the focus can do autofocus. You let the system decide. It can be focused more on what's in the near you, so what's closer to you, or focused on what's further away from you. I left the focus on auto for all of my testing, or I used tap to focus. And then you can see underneath the focus, we have our ratios. So if you want to take full advantage of the cameras and use all 8 megapixels or all 12 megapixels or all 12.2 megapixels, you want to shoot in the 4:3 aspect ratio, which is the full image. Now, if you want a wider image, you're going to get cropped down into the 16:9, and you're not going to be shooting with the maximum megapixels. And you can see how the live viewfinder, the image changed just a little bit. Now, again, all my photos and all my videos were taken at the maximum resolution, so 4:3 in the full frame, okay? So that's the subsettings for night mode. Let's get out of that. And then we swipe over. We have different subsettings for portrait mode here, okay? And you can also automatically activate night mode from your portrait mode depending on the lighting, okay? Or you can have it set to always activate depending on how low the lighting is. All right. But then for portrait mode, you can retouch the faces. You can have it use the software to retouch the faces and make your face look a little bit more pretty. Or you can turn it off, or you can use a more gradual effect for it. Okay? Subtle, smooth, or you could turn it off. Now, me, myself, and I've said this before, I prefer natural beauty. So I don't like any type of skin smoothing or any type of beauty effect. I know I have bad skin, but I'm happy with my bad skin. Okay? This is how I naturally look. I'm okay with it. And I tell all the girls that I talk to the same thing. If I don't love you naturally, or if I don't appreciate you naturally, it's probably not going to work out. Okay? I'm all for when they put the makeup on and they looking, 9,000. But anybody can appreciate somebody when they looking 9,000. I want to appreciate you when you looking 1. Okay? So if I don't think you look beautiful when you looking 1, then, looking 9,000 most likely ain't going to save you all the time. And honestly, other than when I'm taking photos or doing videography, I'm not big on looks. I'm more big on personality. But I am a naturalist, and so I prefer how things look naturally. So I always turn off the beauty effects and the blemishing, fixing effects. I always turn that off because, again, I'm a naturalist. I prefer natural looks. Okay? But it's here. If you want to use it, you can use it. And then you can even make it more intense using the Google Photos editing software. So they have a subtle look, okay? And then they have a super smooth look. And then you can make it more intense with post editing, okay? Yeah, post. After editing, yeah, post. But yeah, other than that, inside of portrait mode, we have a timer. And then you could pick your frames. So 4:3, full frame, or 16:9 wide cropped frame. Okay? And that's for your portrait mode here. Okay? And then getting out of that, if we go over to the primary camera and we hit the sub menu, you can see we have a few different settings here. And again, you can set up night mode to automatically activate depending on lighting, or you can set it up to activate always depending on lighting. All right? Or you can turn it off. And mine was always set to automatic. Okay? Other than that, Google has something similar to what Samsung uses. They call it their Top Shot feature. And basically, it lets you get the best shot out of a series of photos that you have taken. And you can also do it out of the frames for a video. So with Top Shot enabled, you can get the best shot from a series of photos, or you can get the best shot photo-wise from a video that you've taken. And again, I really do appreciate how they broke it down for you and then gave you a demonstration of it. I love that. And then you can hit the learn more option to learn more and see how to better use it. Now, I had Top Shot enabled, but I didn't really pull good shots out of videos, and I didn't really pull good shots out of burst photos. I pretty much just lined it up, made sure it was in focus, and then snapped the shutter button or snapped the volume rocker to get the shot. That's pretty much how I do all of my photo samples. I leave it in auto mode, I line it up, I make sure it's in focus, and I snap to get the shot. That's it. Okay? But you can see the differences in the sub settings for the main camera mode versus the portrait mode versus the night sight mode. You can see the differences. That's why I'm going through it like this. Okay? So let's get out of that. And then if we swipe over to the video mode and hit the sub settings, this is where you can control your resolutions. So you got flash control, and you have resolution controls, and you have frame controls, right? So you can do flash always on or flash off. And then in terms of resolution, we got 4K at 30 and 60. And then we got 1080p at 30 and 60. Or you can do auto frame. All right. So when you do auto frame, it lets the system decide which FPS is the best frame to use for the video that you're currently recording. Now, just so everyone knows, all of my videos were done in 30 FPS, whether that was 1080p or 4K. I didn't do any 1080p 60. I didn't do any 4K 60. I tried to keep it uniform across the board. All right? Just wanted to make sure I point that out. And then we also have the speech enhancement feature, or what I like to call the speech focus feature. And basically, it tries to isolate your voice over the surrounding noise and really enhance it for the video. So if you were recording a video in a super noisy environment, super windy environment, you want to turn that on and it will isolate the subject that it hears in the video. Now, they tell you that it really works at its best when there's one person. It's a little bit more of a struggle when there's two people in the video, and they do give you a nice video demonstration of how it looks how it sounds when it's off versus how it sounds when it's on. And again, I love that. I love how Google broke everything down and made it very easy to understand, and they have really, really good demonstrations. Okay, I love that. Kudos, Google. Kudos. Taking all the guesswork out of it. And this speech enhancement feature, this works with the rear-facing camera as well as working with the front-facing camera. Okay? So wherever you feel as though you need speech enhancement, it's here. Okay? And then also for the front-facing camera, we don't have a flash, but you can do it to where it illuminates the front-facing display to give you a flash for your front-facing video. You can also do that for your front-facing photos. Again, I don't like to use flash. I like to use natural light, so I always turn that off. And same thing for videos. I prefer to use natural light or professional studio lights. Okay? So I 9 times out of 10, I'm not using the flash on my device. Okay? But that speech enhancement feature is available with the front-facing camera as well as the rear-facing camera. So really nice stuff there. And that, guys and gals, that pretty much breaks it down, right? That pretty much breaks down all the core components of the camera app and the main camera software interface. Now, let's dive into the sub settings here. So if we hit the more settings option, we can get into the sub settings for the cameras, and this gives us the ability to control some things. So you can see up front, they have the location metadata toggle. All right. I always recommend that you guys and gals turn off your location metadata, because it's really easy for someone with a little bit of technical know-how to get your location from your location metadata based on the pictures and video that you publish anywhere. So I always recommend, for security and privacy purposes, turn off your location metadata. That's one of the first things I do when I get a device and I start taking photos and videos. I jump into the settings, or I find that setting and I turn it off. But you can toggle it off and on here. Now, with it on, it does give you the ability to sort your photos and videos faster in Google Photos and search through your photos and videos faster in Google Photos. But I really do feel like the loss in privacy and security is not worth it for the searching benefits. So I always turn mine off. Then we have a toggle for the shutter sound. That's up to y'all. You can turn it off, you can turn it on. It's up to you. I always turn mine off. And then we have the Google suggestions with the IR scanner. I always turn that on because you never know when you might need to scan a barcode. And then, this one is really nice. We got the Insta Share to Socials feature. And really, you can pick any one of your social medias or photos or videos or any type of sharing applications to instantly share your photos to directly after you've taken a photo. Alright, and you can choose up to 3. You can see my main 2 are Instagram and then my Facebook Messenger chats. But you can do Facebook, you can do Instagram, you can do Google Meet, you can do regular messages, you can do, as I said, Facebook Messenger, Telegram, Twitter, Google Voice, WhatsApp, and YouTube. And if an application that supports the Instant Share feature is installed on the device, then this will automatically populate, right? But you can see you could only choose up to 3. And I just picked the 2 that I use the most. So Instagram and Facebook Messenger chats, right? So let's get out of that. And then below that, we got the gesture function for our volume keys. So what happens when you press the volume buttons for either photos or videos? All right. Now, when it says shutter, that means capturing a photo. But if you're in video mode, that shutter would also start and stop video. That's one thing that I wanted to point out. So shutter just means the ability to take photos or take videos or start and stop video depending on the mode that you're in. All right. So depending on what you're trying to do, you may want to use the shutter. But me, myself, I primarily set mine to zoom. This way I can easily zoom through my videos or photos using the volume buttons. Okay. But you can see you can do photo, you can start and stop videos, or you can take photos, or you can control the overall volume of the system, or you can turn it off. I primarily always set mine to zoom. Alright? But you guys and gals play around with it and you do what works best for you. Okay? Let's get out of here. And then underneath that, we have frequent faces. Alright? And basically, frequent faces is basically self-explanatory. So the more your camera realizes the people that you take photos of, whether that be yourself, family, friends, or otherwise, it will optimize those images for the best overall image. Okay? Alright? And then it uses, what's that? Google's True Tone feature to really bring out the natural tones of the skin. Alright? And that's one thing that I really like about Google Pixels, and especially that True Tone feature. It really does a really great job of capturing the accurate skin color for people of color. Okay, I don't know any other way to say that. But it does a really good job of capturing the accurate skin tones for this for whoever you're taking a picture of. Alright? And since Google has implemented this type of True Tone feature or frequent face feature has been filtering down to all the popular mobile device manufacturers. So Samsung has its own version, Google has its own version, and I think Apple does something similar as well on their iPhones. Okay? So everybody is getting into that natural tone effect. Okay? And then we have device storage. So you can easily free up storage on your device. That's self-explanatory. And we got hints and guidelines. Then we got our ratio guidelines. So we could do the 3:3, we could do the 4:4, or we can do the golden ratio, or we can do no grid lines. I like the 3:3, so I have mine set to 3:3. Then we have exposure controls, focus controls, and color temperature controls all in your viewfinder, right? So let me show y'all how this works. Okay? So we're in the viewfinder for videos here, and let's say I want to tap on focus for my S7 Active right there. And you see, as soon as I tap on focus, it gives me exposure controls, so I can overexpose, I can underexpose, I can dial it in, or I can change the color temperature. So I can make it really cool, I can make it really warm, or I can dial it into the exact color temperature for the image. Okay? So really cool that they got that. And then you can lock the focus by pressing and holding. And we lock the focus, we lock the exposure, and you dial it into exactly what you want. And then it's locked. And then if I wanted to change it, I could tap and then relock it with a press and hold, and I could change it. And then once I let go, it's set to what I changed it to. So now it's locked to that color temperature, it's locked to that exposure, and it's locked on that focus. And that's what that additional sub setting lets you do. It lets you turn off those exposure and color temperature settings. All right. So I just wanted to explain that so everybody knows how that works. And I think I accidentally messed up the color temperature for one of my videos while I was recording a sample. Okay, I didn't mean to tap it. I tapped it by accident. I'm going to leave that in the video anyway. It is what it is. Okay. But that is your grid line guidance. That is your color temperature, your exposure, your hints and levels for the frame hints. Now I turned that off because I found that it was distracting, but it helps you always get a steady image that's in focus and balanced. Okay, but it was super distracting to me, so I turned it off. And then here we have the ability to capture your photos in the full resolution, which means you get the maximum amount of detail, or you can do a medium resolution, which is not the best detail, but it takes up less space on your device. And again, all of my photos, all of my videos were captured at the maximum resolution. So whatever I had it set to, it was getting the maximum results for what I had it set to. Okay? But depending on how much space you want things to take up, you can change this. And then here, this one is self-explanatory. Flip photos in the preview so they're in the right orientation. I always use that to make sure all of my photos look like they're orientated in the same orientation. If not, I always get confused. Like, why is my selfie flipped? Okay? I always get confused if I don't turn that on. And then here we have the overall video stabilization. Right? So if I turn off this toggle and we go back to the main viewfinder, in video here, you can see the stabilization toggle is now turned off, and if I tap it, I can't activate any different versions of stabilization. I can't activate stabilization, period, and it tells me to go into the settings and turn it on. Now again, as I said, for my videos, I just use the normal stabilization. So I didn't use any other variants of the stabilization. Okay? And then these last two parts is help and then feedback if you're having any issues. That's what those last two parts are. Alright? And then one more setting that I forgot to go over was advanced. Okay? So if we tap on advanced, this is where you can get some more granular controls. Right? So you can get your dirty lens warning. So you always remember to clean your lens off before you start recording video or taking photos. Please, people, clean off your lenses before you take photos or before you take videos. There's no reason, I'm going to rant for a little bit here. There's no reason for you to have an $800, $1,200, $1,600 device and be taking blurry photos. Or even worse, taking blurry video. Take a couple seconds, clean off your shirt, and clean off that camera lens. Or if you're like me, I always walk around with a cleaning cloth for if I need to clean my camera lenses or if I need to clean my glasses, because I regularly wear glasses. So I always walk around with a cleaning cloth, and it literally takes, what, 2 seconds to just wipe off your camera lenses before you take the photo, or wipe off your camera lenses before you take a video. Please, people, stop taking blurry photos. Stop taking blurry video. Clean off your camera lenses before you do anything. It's so bad, but that's just the photographer in me and the videographer in me coming out, because sometimes I be out and about and I see beautiful people and they taking these horrible photos. Or I'm on, I can't say be on, that's a double negative. Or I'm on social media and I see an absolutely beautiful friend of mine and they're taking horrible photos or horrible video, and it's only because their lenses are not clean. Clean off your camera lenses, people. Google did it for you. They put in a reminder so you always remember if that camera lens gets dirty. Clean it off. Okay, I'm sorry. Rant done. I'm sorry. Now, moving on, we have the RAW Plus JPEG feature. So when you turn this on, you're going to get the raw image of a photo along with the JPEG image. And the raw image is the photo exactly how the camera sees it. Okay? Not without the color additives. Okay? Whereas when you take a photo with this off, the JPEG image has color additives based on the software. Okay? But if you turn on the RAW Plus, you're going to get the regular image exactly how the camera sees it and the JPEG image. So for each photo, you're going to get 2 different shots. Okay? And you can choose which one you want to work with for editing. So that's what the RAW Plus JPEG is. Okay? And then they have a separate folder just for your raw images. Okay? Then we got the video efficiency mode. So the H.265, the H.264. All right? And regular videos use, I think it's H.265. If I remember correctly, that's pretty much the standard now. Whereas the other one is, it takes up less space, but it may or may not support the audio depending on where you're sending that video to. So like YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, depending on what they support, you may lose the audio if you turn it off and you use the smaller image to take up less space. You may lose the audio for your video. So I always turn that on. I would much rather prefer to use the widely compatible version, so my audio and my video is always there, than turning it off and having a smaller file size, but I may lose audio. I always turn that on. Okay? And then this option right here, social media depth features. This allows you to give social media the access to the depth data for your photos. Okay? And I always turn that off, right? Because for me, social media don't need to have any more information than they need for the social media application to work. Okay? There's no reason for Facebook to have access to your location. There's no reason for Instagram to have access to your location. There's no reason for Twitter to have access to your location. These social media applications only need the bare minimum of access for them to work. Don't give away all your information to social media and lose your privacy. Don't do it. Don't do it. Okay? So I turned that off too. That to me, that goes in line with the metadata that I talked about earlier. So you can turn it on or you can turn it off. It's up to you. Okay? And then this just gives you the astrophotography effect in your time lapse. Okay? And then you got your timer for the flash and the countdown. You could toggle those off and on in here underneath the advanced settings. Okay? So that's the advanced settings. And that goes through all the settings in regards to the cameras on your Google Pixel device. And these are pretty much the same settings for the Pixel 6a, the Pixel 7, the Pixel 7 Pro, any modern Pixel, I want to say from the Pixel 5 and upwards, these are going to be pretty much the same settings. Okay? Give or take, your functionality may be different depending on the style of cameras that are built into your device. Okay? But this, guys and gals, essentially goes over all of the software and the main software interface and settings for your Google Pixel 6a. All right, and all of your additional modes. Now, let me flip over here so y'all can see me. Now what we're going to do for the next sections of the video, I'm going to go ahead and throw on my photo samples so y'all can check it out. Then I'm going to throw on all of my video samples so y'all can check it out. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to give y'all my overall opinions and recommendations for picking up this device, strictly based on the cameras and my experience with the cameras. So I hope you guys and gals enjoy the next portions of the video. I hope you find it helpful. I hope you found this portion and these segments of the video helpful. If you did, you know what to do. I hope everyone is having a great day. Hope you guys and gals are staying safe out there. I'm probably going to say that one more time. Have a good one, everyone, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace. All right, how is everybody doing today? Welcome back to another video, and today we're getting into the camera testing for the front and rear facing cameras on the Google Pixel 6a. Okay, starting off here, we're testing out the front facing 8 megapixel camera. This portion of the video is being recorded in 1080p at 30 FPS with no external microphone hooked up. And we are using the voice isolation feature, okay? So y'all let me know what you think of this real quick vlog style stationary test. Now let me go ahead and spin the cameras around, and we're gonna test out the rear facing primary and ultra wide camera in the same scenario. So give me 1 second, let me spin the cameras around, and I'll be right back with y'all for the next set of tests. I'll see y'all in a little bit. Peace. All right, and now we're testing out the primary and ultra-wide rear-facing cameras on the Google Pixel 6a. This section here is also being recorded in 1080p at 30 FPS with no external microphone hooked up, and we are using the voice isolation feature here as well. So now let's dive into our traditional camera testing with the rear-facing primary cameras on the Google Pixel 6a. Now for reference, the Google Pixel 6a has a 12 megapixel, 12.2 megapixel primary and a 12 megapixel ultra wide camera. And the really neat thing about the Pixel cameras, or the primary cameras, is that you do have the ability to switch between both of them while recording in one continuous video. So you can see here, we're recording with the ultra wide, and then if I wanted to switch down to the primary, it's just one tap and we switch down to the primary. And then if I wanted to zoom in on the primary, it's one more tap and we're zoomed in on the primary. So it's really, really nice to switch between the ultra wide and the primary cameras, and then also zoom on the primary cameras as well. Really, really good stuff here, Google. Really good stuff indeed. Similar to what Samsung does, similar to what LG does. It's a really, really nice and simple feature, but it does a lot. And I really do enjoy the fact that we can switch between the primary and ultra-wide cameras on the rear-facing Pixel 6a on the fly. So let's get into the testing here. Let's start off testing out the ultra-wide 12 megapixel camera, and then we'll jump into testing out the primary 12.2 megapixel camera. Now, what's really nice about the Pixel as well is that you only get the ability to record in 2 different resolutions. You have a 1080p resolution at 30 and 60, and then you have 4K at 30 and 60. Now, I'm going to limit my recording to 30, so we're going to do 1080p 30. And we're going to do 4K 30, all right? Just to reduce the time for the video and the file sizes, okay? But we're going to test it in all the different scenarios. So let's get started here. Let's jump straight into the pan testing, all right? So we're going to pan from here all the way through to right about there and back. We're going to do this 2 times and then switch to the primary. So that was 1. Let's come on back. And here we go with number 2. And come on back. Boom. And now let's switch to the primary and do the test again. So now we're on the primary 12.2 megapixel camera. Let's do these pans again. So panning from here all the way through to right about there and back. That's 1. So here we go with number 2. And that's 2. All right, let's come back to the center. Boom. Let's go back to the ultra wide. Now we're going to do the exposure test. So we're going to line up on the tree in the center of the frame here, and we're going to pan up and down, and when we test the exposure, we're looking for a nice even transition between the lighter areas of the scene to the darker areas of the scene and vice versa. And if the cameras do blow out, we want the cameras to recover as evenly and as quickly as possible. So let's see how the ultra wide and primary cameras do here. We're going to test it 2 times on both, starting out with the ultra wide first. Okay, so panning down and panning up. That's 1. Wow, that was really good. That was nice and smooth with very minimal blowout. That was 1. Let's go down again and come on back up. That's 2. That was actually really, really good, Google. It did blow out a little bit, but it recovered very evenly and quickly, and that was with the ultra wide. Now let's switch to the primary, and let's do it again. Lined up on the tree here. Let's pan down. Boom, and let's pan up. Boom, and more of the same. I'm liking how Google has really gotten the color science and the balance between both cameras to look very, very similar. It looks good. So that's 1. Let's do it again. And that's 2. Really, really good stuff here. Really good stuff indeed. All right, so now let's do a focusing test. Let's start out with the ultra wide first. Now the Pixel 6a has really good stabilization, and it also has continuous autofocus as well as tap to focus, as well as a really nice 2 exposure control and focus control. All right, but we're going to test out the continuous autofocus first, and then we're going to do the tap to focus. We're going to do it 2 times on both. All right, so here we go. So continuous autofocus first. We're going to pan to our left, and we're going to use the bushes to the left as 1 focal point. That looks good. Y'all let me know how the cameras are doing. Okay. We're going to use the tree in the center as another focal point. That also looks good. Y'all let me know how the cameras are doing. Okay. And then we got the pillar to the right. Man, that looks really good. Again, let me know how the cameras are doing. So we're going to do this twice. That was 1. Let's do it 1 more time. So coming back, bushes to the left. That looks really good. Again, we're using continuous autofocus. So the camera and the software is doing everything. We're not doing anything yet. Okay. Bushes to the left. Good. Tree in the center. Good. What do y'all think? What do y'all think? Pillar off to the right. That looks really good. Again, what do y'all think? What do y'all think? Let me adjust my grip. And now we're going to get into testing out the tap to focus. So again, I'm just going to report when it says it has a lock. So bushes to the left, tap, locked up, and now I can lock the focus. I can lock the exposure. I can dial in the focus and the exposure, and it will stay perfectly how I set it. Really nice, quick pop-ups and controls, and once I set it, it's set. But I tapped the screen, it locked on almost instantly. Let's go to the tree in the center. Tap, locked up again, almost instantly. Good stuff. And then pillar to the far right. Tap, locked up. Really good stuff here. Really good stuff indeed. Let's do it 1 more time. Bushes to the left. Tap, locked up. Okay. Tree to the center. Tap, locked up. And then pillar to the right, tap, locked up. Really good stuff there. Really good stuff indeed. Now let's jump down to the primary and redo the testing here. Okay, here we go. Continuous autofocus first, so bushes to the left. That looks really good. Tree to the center. That also looks really good. Pillar to the right. That looks really good. Okay, that's 1. Let's go again. Tree to the left. That looks good. Bushes to the left. My mistake, y'all. Tree to the center. That looks good. Pillar to the right. That looks good. Let me adjust my grip. Okay, let's do tap to focus now. Bushes to the left. Tap. That was almost instant. Kind of darkened up the scene there. I don't know why it chose to do that. But that was almost instant focus locking there. Tree in the center. Tap. Locked up. And now it readjusted to what the scene actually looks like. Still really quick overall focus. Okay. Pillar to the right. Tap. Locked up. Really good stuff there. Really good stuff indeed. Let's do it one more time. Bushes to the left. Tap. Locked up. Good stuff there. Good stuff there indeed. We're losing the sun a little bit, so struggling trying to get the right exposure, but still really quick overall focus. Tree in the center. Tap. Locked up. Okay. And then pillar to the right. Tap. Locked up. Now it's doing a really good job locking up the focus and getting the exposure for the pillar. Really good stuff there. What do y'all think? What do y'all think? Again, let me know what you think of the overall focus, the exposure, the stabilization, the smoothness. Leave all your feedback down below. Y'all know how it goes. Just keep it respectful, please. Now, last but certainly not least, let's test the zoom. I love to test the zoom because it tests everything. The detail retention, the stabilization, all that good stuff. And what's really nice with the Pixel, we can lock it in and we can use the pinch to zoom. So we can zoom all the way in and it goes up to 5 times for video. It goes up to 7 times for photos. Or we can use our shortcuts. Okay, so we can zoom all the way back out to the ultra wide, which is 0.6. And then we could tap it once to go into 1 times. Then we could tap it again to go into 2 times. And then we can use the pinch to zoom to go all the way up to 5 times. Or we can use our volume rockers to zoom in. So I can go 4 times, then 5 times. And y'all see how seamless that was? Now notice we do lose a lot of detail when you zoom all the way in. And you can see how the image does get noticeably pixelated. But the overall stabilization here is really, really good. And honestly, I would recommend the second click. So 2 times zoom here. This is actually perfect. Okay. So really good overall zoom here. Really good stuff indeed. Let's go all the way back out. And now we're on the ultra wide. Okay. So really quick zoom test. Really quick overall camera test in general. Y'all let me know what y'all think. How did the cameras do? Now let's run inside and test the cameras in the same resolution. Indoors, daytime, low light testing here. Give me 1 second. I'm going to run inside and then we're going to do that next indoor test. I'll be right back with y'all with the next set of clips. See y'all in a little bit. Peace. All right, everyone. And now we are indoors and we're testing out the front and rear facing cameras on the Google Pixel 6a. Once again, we're starting off with the front-facing camera here, and we're testing it out indoors, daytime, low light. Once again, this is using the voice isolation feature, and this is being recorded in 1080p at 30 FPS with no external microphone hooked up. And I'm actually testing out a new tripod here, which gives me the ability to easily record portrait-style video. So this section here is going to be in portrait style. What do y'all think? Honestly, I'm not a big fan of portrait style video. Hold on, let me put this in the proper orientation, landscape, and I'll be right back. Because this just looks weird. It feels weird. It's a quick and easy little setup, but it looks weird. It feels weird. I'm not a big fan. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Here we go. So much better landscape orientation. So now we're testing out the front-facing camera indoors, daytime, low light. And starting off here, we got some real quick stationary vlog style footage, okay, with the front-facing 8-megapixel camera. Once again, this is being recorded in 1080p, 30 FPS with no external microphone hooked up. And this is indoors, daytime, low light. Okay, let me know what y'all think of this. how is the front-facing camera doing? How's the stabilization? How's the detail? How's the overall lighting? Again, leave all your feedback down below. Y'all know how that goes. Keep it respectful, please. All right, now let me go ahead and spin the cameras around and let's test out the rear-facing 12 megapixel and the rear-facing ultra-wide 12 megapixel camera in the same indoor daytime low light settings. So give me 1 second. I'll be right back with the next set of clips for y'all. I'll see y'all in a little bit. Peace. Okay, everyone, and once again we are back in testing out the ultra wide and primary cameras on the Google Pixel 6a indoors daytime low light settings here. And once again we're using the voice isolation feature as well. I figured I use the voice isolation feature for the 1080p and then I'll turn it off for the 4K so you guys and gals can see and hear the differences. Okay, let me know how y'all feel it performs. So let's dive right into the testing. Let's do some quick verifications first and dive right into the testing. And once again, this is being recorded with the ultra wide and primary cameras indoors, 1080p, 30 FPS, no external microphone hooked up. Let's go. So panning over here, just for verification purposes, y'all can see there's no other light turned on in the room here. It's just the natural light coming in through the window here. So you can see studio lights turned off, overhead smart lights turned off. Only light we have coming in is the natural light from the window over here. Okay, so this is indeed an indoor daytime low light test. Okay, now let's pan back over. Let's angle everything up in the traditional reviewer style angle and let's carry on with the testing here. Let's go. So that looks straight. And now let's pan it down and angle it up. Okay, so I'm straight on. Let's go down. Whoops. And I'm a little bit off center. And let me slide over. Okay. All right, y'all. So now here is what the ultra wide camera looks like indoors daytime low light here in 1080p. All right. Look at how much more we get in the frame. Actually, I got to back up a little bit and then angle up just a touch. And then look how much more we get in the frame with the ultra wide compared to the primary. So here's the ultra wide and there's the primary. You see the difference there? Whew, there's a big difference there. Once again, here's the primary. Here's the ultra wide. All right. Now let's test the detail and focus with the ultra wide and then we'll jump down to the primary. So picking up my keyboard here. Check it out. How legible is this? How detailed is this in this lower light scenario? Let me pan it through. So going from here all the way through to right there and back. Check that out. Check that out. Now you can notice it's a lot grainier with the ultra wide than it's going to be with the primary, because the primary camera is the slightly better sensor, but still this ultra wide camera in my opinion is very usable. And I feel like it's doing a great job matching up the color science between the ultra wide and primary cameras, i.e. meaning that both cameras look pretty much identical. Okay, which is what you want if you have such a versatile setup here. Okay, so that was a real quick focus testing with the ultra wide camera. I'm not going to use the phone for the ultra wide camera because you can already notice the detail degradation with the ultra wide. So let's jump down to the primary. And then once we jump down to the primary, I do have to adjust just a little bit to get the same field of view. So let me adjust a little bit. And let me back up a little bit. And now we have a very similar frame of view for the primary camera as we had with the ultra wide. Let me straighten this up. And now here is what the primary camera looks like in this indoor daytime low light scenario here. Okay, and let's get into the focus testing now. And I will use the phone for this one because this is the primary sensor. And if all else fails, you definitely want to be using your primary sensor to get the best photos and videos with your device. Okay, so picking up my keyboard here, and yes, I know my keyboard is kind of dirty. Check out the detail retention. How clear is this? How legible is this? This looks great in this lower light scenario. If I have to say, looking through the viewfinder here, let's pan them through. Oh yeah, that looks more than legible there. And yes, I know my keyboard is dirty, but this is a keyboard cover, so it's all right. Pan it back through. Yeah, that looks great. Put it down. And then again, because we have that quick shortcut to 2x zoom, if you want to get closer, you can just easily use your volume keys, use the pinch to zoom, or tap the shortcut. So we can easily get in to 2x zoom here. And look at that. Even at 2x, still got a lot of detail in it in this lower light scenario here. So good stuff there. Let's go back out to 1x. And man, that looks good. That looks really good. Now let's get into testing out the focus here with the primary camera. So let's bring in the focal subject. Y'all know I got that S7 active on deck, baby. Right? Let's try to lock the focus. That looks like it's in focus. Look at the nice shallow depth of field going on in the background. Look at how nicely the keyboard is blurred out and the phone itself is in focus. And that's all natural. That's not a dedicated mode. That's all natural. So that looks really good. Now let's see how quickly it takes to lock up focus on the keyboard when we take the phone out. 3, 2, 1, go. And we're back on the keyboard. So again, really, really fast focusing speeds there. Let's bring the phone back in and see how quickly it locks back up on the phone. And we're back on the phone. That was really, really quick. And again, look at that nice stippled detail pattern on the back of the device. That looks really good. It's bringing out a lot of detail there. Let's try to lock in on the smaller text on the bottom. Man, that looks good. How legible is that? How readable is that? I can easily read that if I'm telling y'all the truth. And I don't have the best eyes. But what do y'all think? How legible is that? How readable is that? And again, let's check out the focusing speed. So let's take the device out and see how quickly it locks back up on the keyboard. So ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Boom, and we're back on the keyboard. So really, really fast focusing speeds overall with the Pixel 6a's primary and ultra-wide cameras in this nice, well, I wouldn't call it nice because it's a struggle for cameras in some sense, in this low light daytime scenario here. But I still feel as though the Pixel did a great job. Now what I'm going to do for everyone is I'm going to wait till a little bit later on, and we're going to test out the cameras again in nighttime artificial lighting settings here and see if they perform just as good. Then a little bit later on in the week, we're going to go out to the big yard and test out the cameras in 4K at 30 FPS and wrap up this camera video. So that's going to be a few days for me. It's going to be a couple days. It's going to be a couple seconds for y'all. So I'll be right back with the next set of tests for everyone. I'll see y'all in a little bit. Peace. All right, how's everyone doing this evening? And once again, we are back with the next set of tests for the front and rear facing cameras on the Pixel 6a. So now we are testing out the front and rear facing cameras on the Pixel 6a in nighttime artificial lighting scenarios here. And starting off, we're testing out the front facing 8 megapixel camera in 1080p in a vlog style stationary camera test here. So please let me know what you guys and gals think of this front facing camera clip. Okay, now let me go ahead and spin the cameras around and let's test out the rear facing cameras in the same lighting scenario. Give me 1 second, I'll be right back with y'all with the next set of tests. I'll see y'all in a little bit. Peace. Alright everyone, now here we go. As promised, let's test out the rear facing primary and rear facing ultra wide cameras on the Google Pixel 6a. This is once again being recorded in nighttime artificial lighting scenarios here. This is being recorded in 1080p at 30 FPS with no external microphone hooked up. And let's dive straight into the testing after we do some verifications. Okay, so I have it now set to the ultra wide camera, and let me pan over and show you guys and gals. So you can see if we pan over to the window here, it is pitch black outside. So now there is no natural light coming in through the window there, but you can see if I pan over, I do have my smart lights on. I do have my overhead smart lights on, and everything is set to a nice white color. All right, but I'm not using the studio lights. The studio lights would probably make it a little bit overkill, but this indeed verifies that this is nighttime artificial lighting settings here. So there goes your verifications right there. Now let me pan everything back over and put it into the traditional reviewer style angle, and let's carry on with the testing here. So that looks about straight. Okay. All right. Boom. And let me angle this down. Boom. And you know what I forgot? I forgot one thing. My keyboard is still on the bed from when I was recording earlier. So let me grab that real quickly. My bad. I should have grabbed that before I pushed record. Here we go. Let me grab this. There we go. There's my keyboard right there. Alright, and now y'all can see this is what the ultra wide camera looks like in nighttime artificial lighting settings here. And again, this is in 1080p 30 FPS. Alright, so check out the detail there. Now with the ultra wide, what really matters is the detail and the stabilization along with the field of view. So check out how much you can get into the actual field of view here. Right? Now, compare that to the primary. Let me switch down to the primary. Look at the difference. So now we're on the primary camera here. And then let me go in 2 times on the primary camera here. You see the difference there? So once again, let me show you again. So ultra wide, boom. And then let me show you the primary, boom. Look at that difference in the field of view here. Okay, let's go back to the ultra wide here. So now let's check out the detail and focusing speeds on the ultra wide. Let me hold the keyboard up, and I want y'all to tell me how legible those keys are to read as we pan through. And you can see there's a noticeable difference in the quality for the ultra wide, and it really struggles in the lower lights here, even the artificial lights here. So let me pan this through. Oh yeah, that's definitely struggling. Once again, I feel like we don't even need to do the phone focus testing because you can definitely see the difference in quality on the ultra wide. How legible is that? How readable is that? Put that down. Okay, now you guys and gals are going to see a big difference when we switch to the primary. Now let's switch to the primary, and we're going to do the same thing. And once again, I have to adjust just a little bit to make up for the changes in the field of view. I didn't have to do as much adjusting as earlier. That looks almost about right. So now we're on the primary lens here. Straighten this up a little bit. And notice the difference in quality in the same, basically the same overall place. Notice the difference in field of view. Notice the difference in quality. Now let me hold up the keyboard again. And again, I want you guys and gals to comment down below, how legible is this? How readable is this? Noticeably better. That is much more crisp on the text, in my opinion. Let's pan it through. Oh yes, noticeably better. Pan it back through. Boom, and let's put it down. And then again, just because I want to show y'all here, let's look at how the primary differs from the zoom. So now this is the primary. Let's punch in 2 times. Boom. Look at the quality there. The quality in this instance is definitely slightly better than the primary, but then again, we're just digitally cropping in on the primary sensor because we don't actually have a zoom sensor. So we're just cropping in on the primary sensor 2 times zoom, okay? But that looks noticeably better, especially in this lighting here, okay? Let's go back out. And now let's do some focusing and detail testing with the primary lens. So let's bring in our focal subject here. Got the S7 active on deck here. Let's get it nice and tight. Look at the stipple pattern coming off on the back of that. That looks absolutely great. Look at that. And then again, check out the nice shallow depth of field that's created naturally when it locks on focus on the subject. Oh yes, oh yes. And now let's go down to the smaller text here. How legible is that? How readable is that? That's not too bad. That's not too bad at all. Actually, when I tilt it like this, I can read it no problems. Alright, y'all let me know. How legible is that? How readable is that? And now, let's see how quickly it locks back up on the keyboard when I take the phone out of the frame. So let's see. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Boom. And we're back on the keyboard. That was pretty much almost instant. Really good stuff there in my opinion. Really good stuff indeed. Now let's bring the phone back in and do it one more time. And again, look how quickly it locked back up on the phone. So we get a nice high quality primary sensor here. Look how quickly it locked back up on that. Look how much detail we're actually able to get off the back of the phone. That looks really, really good. Let's go back down to that smaller text. Let's try to lock into focus really, really tight. Okay. Again, how legible is that? How readable is that? Y'all let me know down below. Okay. Check out the nice shallow depth of field going on in the background. Alright. Alright. And then once again, let's see how quickly it takes to relock focus on the keyboard when we take the device out. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Boom. And we're back on the keyboard. So y'all can see the detail retention is definitely a lot better with the primary camera. You can see the focusing speeds, especially in lower light or artificial lighting, is a lot better with the primary camera, but you do get a lot more field of view with the ultra wide. Okay? But as I said earlier, if you're looking to capture the absolute best photos or video, you definitely want to be using your primary rear-facing cameras. Alright? But this concludes the first set of tests for the front and rear-facing cameras on the Google Pixel 6a. Alright? Now, because the front-facing cameras can't record in 4K, the rest of the testing will be done with the primary and ultra-wide cameras in 4K. So a little bit later on in the week, I'm going to take the cameras out to the big yard and we're going to do our final set of tests out in the big yard. And I'm going to let everyone know how I feel about the cameras on the Google Pixel 6a overall. And if I would recommend a device strictly based off of my experiences with the cameras, because cameras are a big thing to people. And 9 times out of 10 nowadays, the camera quality and how good the camera performs determines whether or not if somebody will pick up a device. Alright? For me, it's all about the overall package. But I can see a lot of people, the smartphone they have in their pocket is their primary camera, if not their primary device overall. So I could see why cameras would be important, especially if you're someone who likes to capture those moments as they happen, whether it be with friends or family or just out in nature in general, aka our i.e. the world star moments. I don't even know if people still use WorldStar these days. But that does it for the first set of tests with the Google Pixel 6a. Now, give me a little bit. We're going to come back with the final set of tests, and I'm going to wrap it up and give y'all my closing thoughts. I'll see y'all in a little bit. It's going to be a couple days for me. It's going to be a couple seconds for y'all. I'll be right back. Peace. All right, how is everyone doing today? Welcome back to the last set of video clips for the cameras and the camera testing on the Google Pixel 6a. And starting off here, we're testing out the ultra-wide and primary 12 megapixel cameras on the 6a out here in the big yard today in 4K at 30 FPS with no external microphone hooked up. And we are not using the voice isolation feature. So now you guys and gals get to hear the differences between voice isolation versus just using the microphones in regular mode. So without further ado, it is a beautiful day out here today, but I have some things I have to go run and do. But I wanted to get this video clip testing in before I had to run out. So I might record this portion now and then record the final portion or the closeout portion on a different day. It depends on how much time I have when this clip is done. But let's get the testing in nevertheless. Let's go. So we're going to do our pan test. We're going to do our exposure test. We're going to do our zoom testing. And y'all let me know how you feel the cameras performed. And again, we're going to test the ultra wide and the primary cameras. And I'm kind of in the shade here because I did notice when you do a lot of recording in direct sunlight, the cameras have a tendency to overheat, and then they do close and tell you that it's too warm, so they got to close and cool down for a little bit. So I had to find a nice spot in the shade to record here. All right, so without further ado, let's get into the video here, or this video clip. So starting off here, we're going to do the pans, and we're going to pan from here all the way through to right about there and back. We're going to do this 2 times. So that was 1. Let's go back. And here we go with number 2. And y'all please forgive my shaky hands. I do have stabilization turned on, and I have it set to the basic stabilization. But if it does shake, please forgive my shaky hands, because this is a shaky hand production. But this should give you an idea of the overall stabilization that the Pixel camera can offer. So that was the pan there. So let's see, 1 and 2. Yeah, that was 2 pans. Now let's get into the exposure test. So I'm gonna line up on that tree there. That's right in front of the trailer. Man, they built that house quick. And then we're going to pan up and down to the grass and see how the Pixel cameras do in terms of exposure. Now, when we test the exposure, we're looking for a nice even transition from the lighter areas of the scene to the darker areas of the scene with minimal exposure blowout if the cameras do blow out. And then when they blow out, we want them to recover as evenly and as quickly as possible. So let's see how the Pixel 6a cameras perform. So lined up on the tree, and now we're just going to pan down to the ground. Whoop. And we're going to go back up. 1, we're going to do this 2 times. Two. All right. Now let's switch to the primary, and we'll do it again. So now we're on the primary 12.2 megapixel camera, and let's do these pans. So once again, we're going to pan from here all the way through, oh gosh, to right about there and back. So that was 1. Let's go back. And here we go with number 2. I'm trying not to fall over. Boom. And let's go back to the center. So that was 2. How was the stabilization there? Y'all let me know down below. And then once again, let's do the exposure test for the primary cameras. So we're lined up on the tree, and let's go down to the ground. Boom. And back up. That's 1. And let's go down again. And back up. That's 2. That's what it do. Now, let's get into testing out the focus here. So let's start off with the ultra wide first, and we're gonna pick our 3 focal subjects. So we're gonna pick this mango right here. You see this baby mango right here? That's gonna be focal subject number 1 to our far right. And then y'all see the trailer there behind the tree? That's gonna be focal subject number 2, dead center. And then focal subject number 3 is going to be the tree over the shed. All right, so we're going to test this 2 ways. We're going to test it using continuous autofocus, so letting the cameras control everything. And then we're going to test it using tap to focus, and then we're going to switch to the primary camera. So here we go. Let me start back at the center, and let's go to the mango on the right. All right, that looks good. That looks good, and we're actually looking like we might get a good load of mangoes this year, this mango season. Oh, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. So that looks good there. Y'all let me know what you think. Going over to the trailer. And then tree over the shed. Boom. That's 1. We're gonna do it 2 times each. So coming back. And mango. I'm not even sure. That's the mango tree, right? I believe that's the mango tree. This one's a mango tree. That one's a mango tree. And then this bad boy over here is a mango tree. I think that's a mango tree. Well, for all intents and purposes, we're going to pretend if it's not. So, mango right to the right. That looks good. Trailer. And then tree over the shed. Boom. All right, and then now let me adjust my grip, and now we're gonna test out the tap to focus. So here we go. Mango, tap, locked up. That was pretty much, that was real quick. And it looks like we lost the sun. Trailer, tap, locked up. Really good stuff there as well. And then tree over the shed, tap, locked up. Ooh, that was a big exposure shift there, but that was still really quick. Coming back over, mango, tap, locked up. Okay. Trailer, tap, locked up. All right. And then tree over the shed, tap, locked up. And every time I lock focus on the tree over the shed, it does this weird big exposure shift. The scene is not that dark. It's not that dark at all. Even though we don't have a lot of sun, it's not that dark. I don't know why the camera is trying to expose for such a dark thing when it's not that dark. But it's still locked up very, very quickly. So that does it for testing the focus on the ultra wide. Let's go down to the primary now, and let's do it again. So now we're on the primary, and let's line up on this mango. That looks good. And we're doing continuous autofocus first. Okay, let's go over to the trailer. That also looks good. And then tree over the shed. Ooh, that looks good there too. And it seems to be doing a better job with exposure when you leave it on auto exposure and autofocus. Okay, that's 1. Let's go again. Mango. Okay. Trailer, tree over the shed. Okay. Let me adjust my grip again. Tap to focus on deck. Here we go. Mango, tap, locked up. That's almost instant right there. Trailer, tap, locked up. Again, that's almost instant right there as well. Tree over the shed. Tap, locked up, And again, it's trying to darken up the exposure for some strange reason there. But really quick overall focus there. Let's go again one more time. Mango. Tap it. It locked up. Good stuff there. Trailer. Tap it. It's locked up. Good stuff there. And then tree over the shed. Tap. Locked up. All right, all right. And now, last but certainly not least, let's do a zoom test. So we're going to zoom into that tree all the way in the distance there. And I want y'all to let me know how the cameras perform. So let's go all the way out. So we're at the ultra wide here. Okay. And then we're going to start to zoom in. So this is the ultra wide 0.6. Let me lock the focus. Lock the exposure. Let me dial in the exposure properly. So that's perfectly exposed for the scene here today. Let me adjust the color temperature a little bit. It's a little bit warmer today. Yeah, so that looks about right. And now let's zoom in. So you can use the pinch to zoom, as I said, or you can set up the volume rockers to zoom in and out. We're going to use the pinch to zoom today. And then again, Google has decided to add some really nice shortcuts. So again, along the sides, you got your 0.6 ultra wide shortcut. You have your 1x primary shortcut. And then you got your 2x zoom shortcut as well. And then you can zoom all the way in. After 2x, you could zoom up to 5x. So y'all see what that looks like there? 5x zoom on that tree all the way out there in the distance. Okay, let's do it again. Let's do it a little slower. So ultra wide, then primary. This is the 3.1 times zoom here. And up, I hit the color temperature button. My bad. Put that back. And there we go. We're having trouble focusing here. Alright, so let's put it back to auto. Had a real quick focus struggle there, so I had to put it back to auto. Let's not lock it. And let's zoom in again. So this is 2.5 times. And that actually looks really good. Okay. Honestly, if I had to pick, I would say 2x here is good. But 2.5 times here is also good. Alright. And then let's go up to 3x. 3x zoom here. And then let's max it out again. 5x zoom right there. And you can see the color is good, but you get a lot of loss of detail when you go in to 5x zoom. So as I always say, I would recommend if you're going to zoom on your camera, you go to 2x zoom. Okay, so let me show you 2x zoom again. 2x zoom. This looks great. Or you can go up to 2.5 times zoom. This also looks great. If you want to zoom in more than this, you need to just physically get closer to your subject, because as you've seen, when you zoom into the max zoom range, it gets really grainy, it gets really pixelated, and it severely degrades your image, and you don't want that. All right, so again, my recommendations: 2x zoom or 2.5 times zoom. All right, let's zoom all the way back out now. Okay, y'all, so that pretty much does it for the testing of the primary cameras on the Google Pixel 6a. All right, so we tested out the primary and the ultra wide in 4K at 30 FPS with no external microphone hooked up. And I got to get going. So I'm going to record that last clip, the vlog style clip. I might record that tomorrow because I got to get on the road. So y'all be on the lookout for that. What am I saying? What am I saying? I'm going to edit the whole thing together. So it's going to be another day for me. It's going to be a couple seconds for y'all. So I'll be right back with that final clip for y'all, and we'll close out this camera review. I'll see y'all in a little bit. Peace. All right, and so now everyone, we're outside in the big yard yet again, and I just want to give my closing thoughts on the cameras on the Google Pixel 6a. Once again, this is being recorded in 4K. Now, this time, instead of switching between the ultra wide and the primary, I just figured we'll close out the video using the ultra wide. So this is being recorded with the ultra wide 12 megapixel camera on the Pixel 6a in 4K, and this time we're not using the voice isolation feature, so we're just using the regular microphones without isolation. So this way y'all can see and hear the differences. As I said, when we switched to 4K, I was not going to use the voice isolation feature. But that's enough of that. Let me get into my closing thoughts. How do I feel about the Google Pixel 6a cameras? How do I feel about the Google Pixel 6a in general? Well, being as this video took me about a week to make, and I'm not done testing the device, I'm not done by any means, but I do feel like I have an overall idea or an overall opinion of how I feel about the cameras, and that's what I'm going to share with everyone here. And I'm going to make a recommendation as to whether or not you should pick up this device strictly based off of the cameras. Now, do I believe that you should pick up a device strictly based off of one thing? No. I believe you should pick up a device based off of the overall package that it offers at the time of purchase. All right, that's what I've always believed. But a lot of people make their purchasing decisions based off of what a device can do for one particular area, or a device that can do one particular thing. So it is what it is. And as I said before in a lot of my other camera videos, I can understand that, because for some people, a smartphone is their one primary device. So they wanted to do everything, or they wanted to do really good in one particular area that they use often. So I can understand why people do that. But anyway, I'm getting carried away. How do I feel about the cameras on the Google Pixel 6a? All right. Well, in terms of photo performance, this isn't a surprise. In terms of photo performance, the cameras are phenomenal. All right, phenomenal. Regardless of whatever I was trying to take, 9 times out of 10, it turned out phenomenal photo-wise. Now, the all-important thing here is video performance. How do I feel the cameras did in terms of videos? Well, that really depends on the lighting scenario. Outdoors here, in good light scenarios, it did a great job. Indoors, in good light scenarios, it did a great job. But when the lighting suffered, the video performance suffered. But overall, I feel like in terms of videos, it did a really good job. Can it use some improvements? Oh yes. But for what it is, it did a really good job. And overall, when we talk about the photo and video performance together, I'd have to say this is a really good package overall. All right, extremely easy to use, extremely straightforward, and the overall output, as long as you have proper lighting or good lighting, should be phenomenal. So, can I recommend that y'all pick up the Google Pixel 6a after a week of usage, strictly based off of the camera performance? I would have to say yes. And spoiler alert, the battery life has been phenomenal as well, even though it's only been a week. It's been a week of extremely heavy usage, and the battery life is holding up like a champ. But as I said, we got more testing to do, and I'm going to give y'all my overall opinions and recommendations in the full review. But that being said, as always, I hope you guys and gals enjoyed this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, you know what to do. All right? Hope everyone is having a great day. Hope you guys and gals are staying safe out there, and I will catch everyone in the next one. We are out of here. Have a good one, everybody. Peace.